Hello students, myself Dr.Usha Vyas. Today my topic is the Shakespearean comedy. Concept of comedy and its various forms. First of all, I will give an introduction to this topic. Comedy is opposed to tragedy. It is intended to provoke laughter, not tears, and to present an amusing, not a grave view of life, means serious view of life. The comic hero triumphs over the difficulties that beset him, and the way in which he succeeds in doing this wins our admiration and fills our mind with a sort of intellectual pleasure. Instead of the death and disaster in which a tragedy closes, we find at the end of comedy all characters united and happy. Comedy affords the best scope for the exercise of poetic justice. Poetic justice is exercised when dramatist or poet represents vice as punished and virtue as rewarded. Care must be taken to ostentatiously thrust before the reader's attention, but that it follows naturally from the course of the story. Now I will discuss various kinds of comedy. The first is the comedy of manners. The comedy of manners, which is also spoken as artificial comedy or high comedy, was in vogue in England after the Restoration and had in view the portrayal of the social customs, manner, and life of the age. The comedies of Congreve belong to this class. Second is low comedy. It is same as farce when it makes use of less refined speech and action in order to make its comic appeal. Now third is comedy of intrigue. In comedy of intrigue, the plot is made the principal object and not the presentation of character. Comedy of this kind were very popular in Spain, and the English dramatists of the post-Restoration period, notably Dryden, imitated them. Dryden's The Spanish Friar is a comedy which depends for its interest on intrigue. Next is the comedy of character. On the other hand, the comedy of character, as it also was called comedy of humor, set itself the task of presenting some special peculiarity or oddity of character, some salient trait such as determines the habitual attitude and conduct of the person possessing it. Such types are to be found in Ben Jonson's Every Man in His Humour and in the works of the French dramatist Molière. Next is the Divine Comedy as comedy. When Dante called his great epic the Divine Comedy, he used the term comedy in a sense very different from that in which it is used by us. In Dante's time, comedy meant a story with a happy ending. There was no action attached to it for its being hilarious or mirth-provoking. Next is tragic comedy or romantic comedy. Tragic comedy, in its literal meaning, is a mixture of tragedy and comedy. Such a combination was repulsive to the taste of those dramatists who followed the classical tradition, and Dryden gives expression to their view in his essay on dramatic poesy when he says, there is no theatre in the world has nothing so absurd as English tragicomedy. Here a course of mirth, there another of sadness and passion, and a third of honor and duel. Thus in 2 hours and a half we run through all fits of bedlam. The romantic dramatist did not believe in the view that mirth was incompatible with seriousness, and therefore in some of the most awe-inspiring tragedies of Shakespeare, like Macbeth or Hamlet, there are comic scenes, that of Porter in the former and of grave scenes and of the grave diggers in the latter. But they do not make the play a tragic comedy, for there is a tragic note running through the whole play. These scenes are intended to provide some relief to the overwrought feelings of the audience, at the same time, by way of contrast, to deepen the sense of tragedy. But there are other plays which, though they end happily, nevertheless contains elements which might have turned them into tragedies, such as are, for instance, Measure for Measure and The Winter's Tale, and to these the name of tragic comedies may more fitly be given. We cannot, however, speak of tragic comedy as a separate division of drama, for in as much as it has a happy ending as it comes under the genre heading of comedy. This is all for today. Thank you for listening.